Machiavellian leverage, the secret of separating your income from your physical presence. Right now, while you're watching this, someone is making money. They are not at a desk. They are not in a meeting. They are not answering emails, managing a team, or solving someone else's problem. They might be asleep. They might be at dinner with their family. They might be sitting on a beach somewhere with no phone in hand. And their income is growing. Not because they are lucky. Not because they were born into something you weren't. Because at some point they made a decision that most people never make. Not from laziness, not from privilege, but from a precise and calculated understanding of how wealth actually moves. They decided to separate their income from their presence. And if no one has ever shown you what that means, in structural, psychological, practical terms, then this is the video you needed before every other financial lesson you've ever been given. Because without this, foundation or the budgeting or the discipline or the financial education in the world will still produce the same result. You working, you stopping, income stopping, over and over, until your body can't. Let me show you something. Part 1. The invisible chain. Think about your income for a moment, not the number, not whether it's enough. Just trace it back to its source. Where does it come from? If your honest answer is, from what I do, you are chained, not metaphorically. Structurally, mechanically. The income is a function of your presence. The moment the presence ends, the income ends. You are a single variable in an equation that has no redundancy. This is the invisible chain. Most people never see it because it looks like normal life. It feels like what everyone does. And that normality is the most effective kind of trap. The one you can't recognize because everyone you know is in it too. There's a woman named Elena, 38 years old, consultant. She bills $300 an hour. By most standards, she's doing exceptionally well. Her friends admire her career. Her calendar is full. She's never short of clients. Last October, Elena had surgery. It wasn't serious. Recovery was 6 weeks. In those 6 weeks, she earned nothing. Her pipeline dried, some clients moved on. She came back to essentially rebuild what she had before, not grow it, rebuild it. $300 an hour. And 6 weeks of absence nearly undid 3 years of construction. That is the chain. The bill rate is impressive, the architecture is fragile. Elena isn't poor. She's trapped inside a business that is, in the end, still just a job, a well-paying job, with a better schedule, but still, fundamentally, income that requires her body, her brain, and her time to exist. She produces value. The value disappears the moment she does. Part 2. What Machiavellian leverage actually is. The word Machiavellian has been turned into an insult. It shouldn't. Machiavelli was a strategist, a man who looked at power with absolute clarity and described without sentiment how it actually operates, not how people wish it operated, not how the moral stories say it should work, but how it works in the real world. And in the real world, financial power operates through leverage, not through presence, through architecture. Machiavellian leverage is not a trick. It is not passive income fantasy. It is not make money while you sleep, dressed up in motivational language. It is a precise strategic decision to build income structures that function independently of your daily presence. It means your output must outlive the moment you created it. Think about what that means in its simplest form. If you write a document and get paid once, you traded your time for money. That's presence-based income. If you write a document that 10,000 people pay to access repeatedly, without you doing additional work, that is leverage. Your effort from 1 hour continues generating value across months or years. If you advise one client at a time, you are trading hours. If you build a system that advises, educates, or serves many simultaneously, you are building leverage. If you save money and keep it in a checking account, you have stored your effort. If you deploy that capital into assets that generate returns, that capital is working independently of your hands. The structure changes everything, not the amount, the architecture. Part 3. Why your mind rejects this. Here's the part that rarely gets discussed honestly. Most people, when they hear this concept, feel something uncomfortable. Not confusion, discomfort, a subtle suspicion, a moral resistance, a voice that says, this sounds like not actually working, or real income requires real effort, or I don't want to build some passive income fantasy, I want something real. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is programming. It was installed in you the same way all limiting beliefs are installed. Through repetition, through authority figures you trusted, through a cultural narrative that glorifies the link between suffering and earning. No pain, no gain. Nothing comes easy. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. These are not universal laws. They are behavioral guidelines designed to keep effort-based workers motivated inside effort-based structures. And they work beautifully, because every time you start to question the chain, this programming pulls you back. It makes the alternative feel wrong. It makes leverage feel like laziness. It makes building a system feel less noble than grinding inside someone else's. I want you to sit with that for a moment. The very resistance you feel toward income, that doesn't require your constant presence. That resistance is the chain tightening. It's not your values speaking. It's your conditioning speaking. Your values want freedom. Your conditioning wants you to keep working. Which one are you listening to? Part 4. The 5 forms of presence-independent income. Let me be specific, because vague inspiration does nothing. There are 5 structural ways to separate income from presence. They are not equally accessible to everyone at the same moment, but every one of them can be built from where you are, with what you have if you understand them clearly. The first is capital leverage, money producing more money. When you invest in assets, index funds, real estate, business equity, bonds, you are deploying previously stored effort into structures that generate returns without your daily participation. This requires margin. It requires capital, which is why building a savings rate is not about frugality. It's about creating the raw material for leverage. The second is knowledge leverage. You know something valuable, specific, hard-earned, and transferable. When you package that knowledge in a course, a book, a framework, a tool, it can be delivered to thousands of people simultaneously without your additional labor. 1 hour of creation becomes 1,000 hours of delivered value. Most people consume knowledge. People who build wealth package and distribute it. The third is systems leverage, a process that runs without your hands on it, an automated sequence that qualifies clients, a repeatable framework that your team executes without you designing each step, a business structure with standard operating procedures that don't require your presence at every transaction. Systems are the most underestimated form of leverage because they require deep, boring, unglamorous work to build, and then they quietly earn for years. The fourth is audience leverage. When a group of people know who you are, trust your perspective, and consistently engage with what you produce, that audience becomes an asset. Not immediately, not in the way a salary is immediate, but an audience of 10,000 relevant people is worth more than any single job. Title because it creates optionality, the ability to launch, to offer, to generate demand, without having to start from zero every time. The fifth is network leverage. The right relationship, at the right moment, generates more financial movement than months of isolated effort. Access creates opportunity. People who invest in deep, high-quality relationships across different domains can move faster than those who work harder in isolation. This is perhaps the form of leverage most invisible to people who were raised to value independence. But the most financially advanced people on Earth don't operate alone. They operate inside networks of mutual amplification. Part 5. The architecture decision. Elena, the consultant from the beginning, she's not failing, but she's building the wrong thing. Every year she gets better, more skilled, more reputable, more in demand. But she is building her personal capability, not a structure. She is optimizing the engine inside the chain, not engineering an exit from it. The architecture decision is the moment you ask, am I building capability or am I building a structure? Capability is personal. It lives in your brain and body. It stops when you stop. Structure is external. It lives in systems, assets, code, content relationships. It continues when you rest. Most people spend their entire professional lives building capability. They become excellent. They become respected. They become expensive. And then, one day, the body stops. Performing at the level required, through age, illness, burnout, or simply the desire to exist differently, and the income contracts with it. The architecture decision is not a choice between working and not working. It is a choice between what you are building with the work. You can work 60 hours a week building capability and have nothing to show for it except a strong professional reputation and a fragile financial runway. Or you can work 50 hours a week building capability and 10 hours building structure, and 10 years from now that structure will be producing income while you sleep. The difference is not the amount of effort, it's the direction. Part 6. The separation. Making it real. I want to give you something concrete to leave with, not a strategy, a question, and then an action. The question is, what do you currently do that could serve more than one person at a time? Not what you wish you could do, what you already do, right now. In your current work, your current knowledge, your current experience. If you teach someone something, could it be recorded? If you solve a problem repeatedly, could the solution be documented and sold? If you advise a person, could that advice reach 1,000 people in written form? If you manage a process, could that process be standardized and run by someone other than you? You don't need a perfect answer. You need a direction, because Machiavellian leverage doesn't begin with a product launch or an investment. Portfolio. It begins with the decision to see your effort as something that can outlive the moment you exert it. That shift from "I produce value when I show up" to "I produce value that persists when I'm not here" is the most important financial decision you will ever make. Not the stock you pick, not the salary you negotiate, not the savings rate you maintain. The architectural shift. And here's what I want you to hold on to after this. Elena had surgery, 6 weeks, and it nearly undid 3 years of work. You don't need surgery to feel the chain. You feel it every time you take a vacation and check your email because the income feels contingent on your attention. You feel it every time you don't take a risk because there's no financial buffer to absorb a miss. You feel it in the quiet anxiety that lives beneath the productivity, the knowledge that everything depends on you keeping going. That anxiety is not motivation. It's the chain reminding you it's there. Machiavellian. Leverage is the decision to build your way out of it. Not tomorrow. Not when you have enough saved. Not when the timing is perfect. Now. In small, structural, compounding decisions. Starting with the question, what do you do that could serve more than one person at a time without requiring you to be there? That question is the door. What you do with it is everything. Subscribe. Stay close. We're building something here that compounds.